That will be on Zoom. Her name is chair of the appraisal section and 2021 chair of the Greater Springfield Board of Realtors. She also serves as the Springfield MLS Board of Directors and is a state director for Missouri Realtors. She owns appraisal, appraisal of Southwest Missouri and real estate. General appraisal license in Missouri and a real estate broker license. Specializes in residential properties in Illinois. So she's been over that stuff. From Maris, here's the over updates. President from Missouri Realtors. Sean Ulrich will be here from Cornerstone Financial as well. So a few thank yous. Breakfast is from Cafe Mosaic in Washington and always delicious. And then Angie Holmes let us use this amazing building, which is always a good time. Russell Bailey with US Bank sponsored the fruit, and of course our favorite Christina Anderson sponsored the coffee and the fixins from United Bank Union. Thank you, Christina. Realtors Monday morning, happy drinking. So for those of you that haven't seen our events are all updated on the website. So you can sign up. There are sponsorships available. We have the RPAC float trip July 21st. We'll be floating the 5 miles south of Merrimack from River Ranch in Bourbon. So that's a different spot than we have done in the past. It's a $50 investment to RPAC and includes your float, lunch, dinner, and some drinks, and an amazing time. Just remember what happens on the river. Especially if we meet nurses. August 11th is our annual golf tournament, so we have teams and sponsorship ready for that. Golf tournament will be at the Sullivan Country Club this year, so also a new spot for us. September 15th, our newest event we started last year, which is the RTAC Winery Tour, and this year we're doing a scavenger hunt to go along with it. I don't know if you guys have been out to the wineries lately, but there's a lot of crazy statues and many, many old trucks. So fun. The winner of the scavenger hunt gets 2 tickets to, what's the boat called, Christina? Miss Augusta. Miss Augusta. Yes. So the winner will get 2 tickets to Augusta when she arrives. And then September 28th is our annual election night at the White Mule. So that is a free event for everyone with a cash bar for the line. And then November 4th will be our installation for our president-elect Sonia. That's back there. So save the date for that. More details to come. Great. 2 minutes. Office updates. We currently have in process, we're in the process of getting our office painted. So Becky and I are super excited for you to come visit it. We'll have an office open house when it's all done. So we're going with a light gray walls and a dark gray trim. New carpet is coming, so it looks like a whole different, beautiful, magnificent place. We are ecstatic. And then we also have some CE classes still going on. So we have a few more classes being offered from the board. Again, check our website. We have a class this Thursday from 6 to 9. That's all about riders. And then there's another 2 more classes later in the month. And then I am going to get Linda all up and ready. She's on the screen, and we will hear from her. We're ready whenever you are, Linda.
Okay, can you hear me pretty good there? Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Linda Long. I'm a certified general appraiser. I've been appraising for 31 years. I'm also a broker with our board here in Springfield, Missouri, and I'm on the MLS Board of Directors. I have also taught appraisal classes at the local university. And I'm a VA appraiser, and I understand you maybe have some questions about Tidewater and things like that. So one of the things, I think ANSI is what you were interested in finding out about today. And that's just Fannie Mae came out with this new rule for us April 1st, that we had to measure according to ANSI standards. And most appraisers had already been probably measuring that way anyway, within the nearest inch or the nearest tenth of a foot. But the only difference now is pretty much the second story. If you have a house that has some slanted ceilings, like a Cape Cod, we can only count the square footage up there. If we were to take a tape measure and drop it from the ceiling down to the floor, anything more than 5 feet is what we can consider square footage. And then the ceiling height has to have at least 7 feet, has to be 7 feet tall in that area, or at least 50% of the room to be included in the GLA that would be on the appraisal report. However, we can still count that area as living area. Let's say there's 2 bedrooms and a bath up there. We can still consider that. It would just be on a different line. The GLA has to be everything that conforms to ANSI. So that would be on that appraisal report with above grade square footage. And down a few lines, there's some blanks there. And we would just putting that non-ANSI GLA square footage there. And we can also, if let's say we're adjusting at $50 a square foot for the rest of the GLA, we can also make an adjustment $50 a square foot for that non-GLA. So you're still getting credit for everything. It's just probably going to be in a different place. And some of the things for ANSI, like basements, if any part of it is not, if it's not finished at all, like no ceilings, they're saying that we have to say it's an unfinished basement. And, I would always consider something, a lot of times these new ceiling effects that they have, that black kind of industrial type look, if that is what is the market is accepting as finished, I would always say it's finished. So we're still going to give it credit even on that line for the basement. It just might be in a different place. Let me see. And then some other properties, if you have like a walkout reverse basement and around some lakes and things like that, you'd walk in the main level and the living room and kitchen would be there. You'd go upstairs and it would be the bedrooms up there. Well, now they're saying anything that is below grade on that main level has to be considered basement. So you could wind up just considering the square footage for the house would just be what that top floor is. So we, could still give it the credit on the basement level. It's really confusing for appraisers as well, but that's how they're having us report it. And really for Fannie Mae, it's for them to gather all the data, and they wanted it a little more uniform and hope all appraisers would stop measuring the same way. And as far as there's been some discrepancies about how we would report rooms on the form. And ANSI standard says only square footage that we would consider as GLA would be on the room count. So let's say we had that Cape Cod again that had living room, kitchen, dining room, and 1 bedroom on the main level. They would want us to say 4 rooms, 1 bedroom, and maybe 1 bath if it had one down there, where the upstairs maybe has 2 bedrooms and 1 bath. And that's ANSI standards, but Fannie Mae wants us to report all of the rooms, even if we're not including all of that GLA on that one particular line. So they're still wanting us to say that it would be a 6 room, 3 bedroom, 2 bath house, because if we don't record it that way on their UAD, that lenders have to, it's a format that everything going to Fannie Mae has to be in that format, that it will mess up their data. So here they want ANSI standards, but yet they want it modified ANSI standards because they still want us to report how many rooms are above grade, whether we're considering it GLA or not. The problem that we get into sometimes is that most of the assessors' offices do not measure by ANSI standards. And actually, most of the assessors never go in a house. I think they're not supposed to go in a house anyway. They measure the outside. They maybe wouldn't know how deep the garage is. So there could be a laundry room back behind there that's not given any value on there or any consideration, or a 2-story house. They may be saying it's a 2-story, but once you go in and look at the house, it could just be half of it. And then to not measure the ANSI standards because they don't measure. So Fannie Mae wants the appraisers to do their due diligence and maybe get a hold of realtors or other appraisers that have been in the house. And actually for comps, we should be calling every appraiser that appraised that house to see what the GLA square footage actually is to get accurate data. Eventually, hopefully, when enough properties get appraised and some of that square footage gets reported in the MLS, it'll be a little easier for everyone involved. In this area, we do have a lot of realtors that hire the appraisers to go out and measure the house at listing so that they can have the actual square footage, or even a lot of them put the sketch in there. And I personally do some of those myself for some realtors that I've dealt with over the years. They are going to, in our area, there's a gentleman that's he's teaching classes for appraisers now, but he's putting something together for the Missouri Real Estate Commission to have a continuing education class of about 3.5 hours for realtors that would explain the ANSI and even show people how to measure. So, you know, it's really not all that difficult to measure, but I know a lot of, you know, realtors don't want to get into that part. So, you know, that's about all I have on the ANSI. I don't know if you have any other questions about that. And then, you know, we could talk about the Tidewater. So any questions?
Anyone have any ANSI questions?
The lower level, I was wondering how that gets calculated, if it's got like 3 bedrooms, a bathroom, and a living room.
My speaker is kind of mumbled a little, so I don't know if you could.
Derek, do you want to be louder?
I could not hear the question, really.
So if you have 3 bedrooms, they all have egress windows, a bathroom, and a living room, how would that be calculated in the price?
Basement?
Yes.
In the basement area? Okay. We consider that basement. Anything below grade has to be on the basement line. And we can, you know, adjust it out with the comps that way, if we have comps that are finished off. So we have actually 3 lines that we make adjustments for on the appraisal form for the square footage. The main one is GLA above grade. So that's everything above grade. And then the next one is anything that has, even if it's a foot below grade, we have to consider that basement now. And we can still make adjustments. You know, like I said, if we're adjusting for $50 a square foot on the main line, we can adjust $50 a square foot for that basement area if it's finished in the same manner as the upstairs. And a lot of newer houses, you know, you can't even tell when you're in the basement. You think you're on that main level because they have big high ceilings and it's finished out in the same manner. So we do, you know, give it adjustment for the finished area in the basement and the unfinished area as well. Those rooms, however, are not included in the grid on the above grade. The basement square footage, the basement room count cannot be on that line. It's on a separate line down below that. So we can't include it. I know, you know, a lot of times I'll see in Multilist that they'll put 5-bedroom, 3-bath, when really it's only 3-bedroom, 2-bath above grade, and the other one's in the basement. So that's why the grid is different. Anything below grade has to be included, even the room count. The only rooms that get counted is anything above grade, like I'm talking about the A-frame type houses or the Cape Cod type. We can include those rooms upstairs that do not meet ANSI standards, but if they're used as basement, I mean, as bedrooms and bathroom, then we can include those, but we can't include any of the basement level. And that's just a national form that the Appraisal Foundation has put out for all appraisers to use, and every appraiser does it that way. We cannot include those basement rooms above grade. Anything else?
Does that include, is that the same concept for atriums? Like the atrium ramps with the walkout, same finish quality, open stairwell with windows, you know, your standard good looking atrium. You can't count that in the group GLA.
No, only above grade. If it even has a foot below grade, it can't be included in the GLA above grade. There's a separate line. It's basement, finished basement level, but it can't be included above.
Thank you.
Linda, we have a question. How do you treat a split foyer?
They want us to use that lower level as basement now. I have in the past have said that, you know, maybe it was a slab for foundation and included all of it in the above grade. But the new ANSI standard says anything below grade, it's basement. So then the above grade on the split foyer, those rooms that are totally above grade would be in that room count above grade. And then the other rooms in the split foyer would be considered finished basement.
What about a berm house?
There's a special category for earth berm houses, and there's a code that we would put on the appraisal report that's going to Fannie Mae, and that would let them know that this is a different house, that a berm is below grade, and it does not, we don't have to use the ANSI then. We can include all of the square footage for berm.
Anybody else? Brian?
What are the appraisers charging to finish your house?
What are the appraisers charging to
Bid the house.
bid houses?
Measure.
Measure houses. You know, it's about $150. It's kind of like us doing a final inspection of a house. We have to drive there, we have to get out and measure it. And we go inside and measure the inside too, because we have to measure off, you know, the garages and anything that's not living area. Even like a laundry room, if there's a laundry that you have to go out into the garage and there's a finished area in there for laundry, that is not considered living area because you have to go outside of the main living area to get to that. And that's also for maybe some bonus rooms as well. There have been some that they have finished rooms up over the garages, but you have to go out through the main living area into the garage and up some stairs and then open a door to the finished area. We have to consider that bonus room. It cannot be considered in the GLA. Anytime you have to go outside the main living area to get to another area that's heated and cooled, we cannot consider that in the overall square footage. It'll be on a separate line.
Even a sunroom?
The sunroom needs to be finished in the same manner as the main. part of the home. So, you know, a lot of these sunrooms I see, the wall might be brick on the back because the outside of the house is brick. And then it has some walls around it. Well, we would say that it's a sunroom and give it credit. Probably can't call it GLA. It's not finished in the same manner as the main living area.
Anybody else? Yeah.
The way I'm understanding it, she has a lower level basement. But yet she's giving it the same it's wrong.
Okay, come up and say that. Yeah, no, you're fine. Come on. I can't
Yeah,
reiterate all.
Yeah, I just can't hear from so far back there. Okay.
Close to the owl.
Okay, so you are saying that the lower level, you cannot count that in the number of rooms, which I understand, but you're also saying that you're going to give it the same value as long as it is the same quality as the main level? Is that right?
You can. I mean, it's up to the individual appraiser, obviously, but you know, if I have a basement that's finished out in the same manner as the upstairs, and I'm giving the upstairs $50 a square foot difference,
Right.
then I would give the basement level $50 a square foot as well. But I'd
Okay.
probably be competent out, hopefully, with a house that would be comparable in the neighborhood, that the basement level is finished just like the subject.
So our end value is what most of us care about. So that would come out better than what it's done in the past, right?
Well, you know, the only difference would be, let's say I have a house that has 1,500 square feet finished in the basement, and the comparable has 1,400 square feet finished in the basement. The only difference would be that 100 square feet, you know, to plus up or minus, depending on what the house sold for.
Right.
So,
But
you know,
the below grade has not received the same square footage amount as the main level, and now you're saying it is, so that.
well, it can. I'm saying it can if it's finished in the same manner. Most basements are not finished in the same manner as the main level.
But I know where, in the area I'm in, we have lake homes.
Right.
Which what we call the main level, which faces the lake.
Right.
Is actually what you call the basement.
Right.
And in the past has not gotten this, in my opinion, the value that it really should have had, where
Yeah.
now it sounds like it will. So that's great.
Well, if they're using comparable properties in the neighborhood that have the same floor plan, it should still appraise out value-wise, whatever they're making for adjustments, whether it's below grade or above.
You need to appraise in our area.
All right, I'll come up there.
Anybody else? Feel free to text me questions as well if you're afraid to speak up. I won't say who it is. It was too long. That was too long. Okay, so I think that's it with the ANSI topic.
Okay. What kind of questions do we have for Tidewater?
Tidewater questions? Anyone? Derek, you got questions?
No, not actually, but you explain it. I'm not sure everyone's aware of what you're talking about.
I didn't hear that question.
Could you explain what it is?
Could you explain what
Okay.
it is?
I will. When I do a lot of VA appraisals, and unfortunately, every once in a while I'm working on one that it appears that it's not going to make contract price. So when I get to that point, I've pulled all the comps that I can find. Actually, I've probably already dropped them in the grid on the appraisal report, and it's just not, you know, it's just not going to work out. So I send a letter or an email to the VA and also to the lender. And the comment, the word for VA is that we send it saying that we're initiating Tidewater because it appears that the appraised value will be below contract price. And at that point, the lender gets a hold of the team, selling agent, listing agent, and they can provide 3 comparable properties that they think are comparable on a gridded format to us, showing the subject and those comparables and why they, feel like that would support the value. And, I can't tell them what it's coming out at. I don't tell them what comps I already have. And 90% of the time, I have at least 2 of those comps already in my report. When I see something not coming out, I'll go back and search again, trying to find something that's going to support value. So when these come in, I have in the past, used 1 or 2 of these and maybe have been able to make contract price after that. But then sometimes, what I have in there, the figures just don't work out, and I'm just analyzing data. I'm making time adjustments, looking at our MLS to see how much property values have increased over the last 6 months or the last 3 months, and applying them. I mean, I'm even applying time adjustments to April and May right now, just because property values are appreciating so much, and it would be so much per month. So, but we don't, we certainly like to get any information that realtors have when we go out to some properties. It's just fine with us. When the appraiser's coming, that you can leave a little packet there with some comparable properties or comps, maybe something that you use for your CMA. And, we will analyze that data. I'm not saying that we're going to use it. Obviously, we're getting paid to do a job too. So, we search as well. But, any information that we can get that'll help us in our job, we appreciate. Anything else?
Any other questions from anyone?
I just have a comment. I mean, just so everybody knows, I don't know if anybody else in here has done that before, but I have filled out one of those grids and it does work. They did look at the comps that I provided on that grid, and it didn't make it all the way up to the price because we were like 40,000 off, is what I found out. But we got up, I mean, substantially, and was able to keep the deal together for the buyer and seller, because obviously this buyer thought it was worth it, and it was right when our market was changing, so there was not good comps out. But so it is worth it. It's kind of a pain and time consuming to do, but it was worth it for the buyer's sake. So, for my buyer.
Is there a standard for that grid?
They send it to you.
The appraiser will.
And also, you have 2 days to give us some comparable properties. And if we don't get anything, and sometimes they just don't have any sales and they don't send us anything, we then finish the report and upload it to the VA portal, and they just go from there. So.
Right.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Yeah. That's what
Okay.
For sure. Last call. We don't get Linda very often.
All right. Well, I'm going to get back to work. I got a bunch of stuff sitting here. So thanks so much and have a good day, everyone. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So there is another process beyond what she just explained. So if you receive Tidewater.
You want to get up? You want to get up?
Here. So you have 48 hours to submit your 3 comps, and then they're going to release the value or raise the value. If they release it and don't raise it high enough, you can do a reconsideration of value and ROE. To do that, you have to have a letter signed by the veteran. The veteran has to request a specific value. They don't just have to ask for it to be raised. It has to be a specific value they're requesting. It has to come from the veteran. And then you can submit that with your 3 comps, and it will actually go through the underwriter to the VA themselves, and VA can and will override the appraiser. So when I first started doing this, I was kind of told, oh, you're never going to win one. I think in the last year that's changed. I think I've done 12 or 15, and I think we've gotten over 8 or 9 times. So But it's just an extra process where the VA will actually overrule the appraisal.
Any questions? No? Okay. We'll move on to our next special guest. We have Randi Marie Penny here from Maris. So Randi is the Member Engagement Specialist. In 2013, after 13 years in administration, she accepted a training role at Southwestern Illinois Regional MLS. In 2015, they merged with Maris, providing her the opportunity to educate members about the benefits of the MLS in both Illinois and Missouri. So welcome, Randi.
Thank you very much. So yeah, I'm just here to talk to you a little bit today about what's kind of going on in the MLS world. See if there's any questions I can help with while I'm here. Probably the biggest thing you guys have seen this year is the rules update, right? So the big one on that, there was a couple things, I'm sorry, I have my PowerPoint here, so if I look down, that's what's going on. The NAR updated, which is in there, which you're not going to see a bunch about. Because one of the things we were told is property addresses or tax ID is mandatory for implementing things in the MLS. For the most part, that are taxes. Okay, so you won't see a lot of change. There is the services advertised as free are no longer available. So I'm sure you guys are hearing all about that stuff anyway, right? You can't filter listings by compensation. So we have to make sure in the back end that that's something going on, right? And the last one for them was that display of listing broker's office of compensation applies to the listing broker who's showing that fee. Okay, so again, those are all things you're like, cool, whatever, right? The big one was withheld change, right? So we moved from the marketing options form. Did anybody ever use that form before? Okay, and we got rid of that. It's retired. It's no longer in use. As of April 12th, we use what's called a certification to withhold property. That is only necessary if you're using a withheld listing. Now, there's always a couple of questions with that. Well, the marketing options forms that come soon after. We need another form for those. No, those are taken care of by your listing agreement. So the only time you would need a form is in the case of a withheld listing. All right. The other questions we get are, when did this go into effect? April 12th. Do I need to go back to my old listing to use the old form? If it was after April 12th, I might go back and do it if it's still in that withheld state. And then that last one is, what happened to verbal one-to-one communication? Right, that's the question we get a lot. Because on the old form, it said no, don't need that. Well, and the person I'm going to be their name after this is Tracy Yost. She is going to be the most perfect person to talk to in all of these in-depth conversations. But there's twofold things, right? How do we police who we talk to? That's something you guys have been doing all the time. You've been tight-knit group of people. So if you say something someone was withheld listening, we can't police that. Now, if Derek comes to me and says, hey, well, Tracy has a listing in there that was withheld and it went all the way to sold and the broker down the road is left to sold. How does that happen? Well, then Tracy has to dig into it and she calls the brokers and she makes sure everything happened the right way it should. So with that being said, what questions do you guys have if any are withheld or any of these guys?
I don't know if it's a question, a comment. It seems like even with the market being the way it is, by giving that as an option, we're just asking for trouble amongst ourselves, are we not, in our industry? I mean, the buyers are crying. I mean, they're so frustrated. And by being, for us to give ourselves that opportunity to do that, I mean, we're just asking for people to, I don't, for lack of a better word, being cutthroat and, it's very, very confusing. Buyers don't understand it. I just had an agent lose a buyer because of something that it was not her fault. But it was something another agent did, and luckily it wasn't one of us. But you know what I mean? Because they kept, she's written 6 contracts with them.
Right.
And this one, the agent kind of did something that I can see where it appeared shady. And I don't know, so giving us that option doesn't help our industry. And we're trying to do that big push of, that's who we are, we're helping people. And that's just, so just
I understand,
comments.
I understand, no, absolutely, I understand that. Tracy has been mentioning lately, we remember that this is a lot for safety purposes, right? If you can't have it listed, so if you are afraid of listing your property because the person down the street might not need to know, then you have a withdrawal option. It does change the competitive nature of it, so you have to think of that for your client as well. So there are reasons that would be used, more to that. I understand what you're saying. Yes. I'm sorry, I'll come back right here.
Some of the people might remember what we used to call pocket listing. That is almost exactly what that is. When the hell is a pocket listing? And it gives you the right to your company to sell that and nobody else. And I'm sure that is totally against what we all are. Without or not.
That, and Tracy talks about too, you have to be very careful with the pocket listing because it can be construed as fair housing.
Who should say there?
The list agent, anybody else.
It always, see, that's tricky because, your company knows all about that business. Because it goes to the county to talk to them. But if the neighbor hears the seller say, I want to sell my house, and they go, my son wants to buy my house. I can't talk to them.
Well, you
So,
can,
seriously.
to be clear, you can. So you have now found out through public communication that that property is available. The listing agent and seller have violated the
Well, the
rules. of-
seller is obligated to.
Yes,
I didn't
both
realize
parties
that.
are to keep
Well,
that private.
just say-
And if they go to the social club and say, hey, 123 Avenue is available for sale, give my agent a call, they have publicly marketed it.
So I didn't realize. the
And
seller-
and when my client finds out that property's for sale, it's no longer street held, and it goes through your coming soon.
Okay, but say they don't say that, but they just know,
That's where
a movie company. I don't know, but I'm just saying, to me, it doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
And NAR has always offered the office exclusive, which has been in their policies for a long time. And that's what this is withheld as an office exclusive.
It's our local interpretation of the NAR rule, clear cooperation policy. And so we've done our best to accommodate what NAR is requiring us to do. And I totally agree though, right? Like it's causing a bit of an issue, but if the agents stop with using the rule and go back to using that the way it's supposed to, you're at past district judge, someone involved in a domestic dispute. These sorts of things are the reason that rule and caveat should exist. It's the people trying to abuse it to gain, hey, you gotta call my brokerage because we have all these. That's the dynamic that needs to be in some way stopped. We can stop it ourselves by doing the right things, right? Like, it's,
Could there not be a form that there's a requirement of why it should be in that status? Rather than just be a month, like there's a reason that the seller needs it in that status of protection? I mean, that's the reason.
On the little marketing options form, there was a reason. I don't think it's on the.
no, but it outlines like that you're putting,
Yeah.
like that form kind of outlines, and you're probably not familiar with it, so
No.
that's a good question, but like, it kind of outlines the negative side of being withheld, which means not public exposure, not extra marketing. So the seller's like acknowledging that they're doing limited and they want limited, but that goes back to the fair housing type of
But like,
concerns.
it's supposed to be like a definition, paid or project, or something, that's all, I don't.
That was the nice thing about the whole form, because it did black and white for those sellers, that this is what you're violating, and I just have that anymore, and so saying it to somebody versus seeing it in black and white is a whole lot different.
So if you have Sundell, and you're, say you're agent. And they show us, right?
To anyone in your brokerage and your client, your brokerage is a client.
Well, it is, I'm sorry.
If it's yeah, in this world of fair marketing, blows that right out the whole.
And then they got back. So welcome to our world, lenders that didn't know that.
I think again, I was gonna ask how many people actually know what Delta is. I mean, that's the agents do, but I think there's not everybody's agent in here.
I got it.
So, but when Liz mentioned pocket list, we need to involve her pocket list. So, on knowing what a PEL is, helps to digest the explanation there. I think, does everybody now have a good under?
And we do listen to this. So like I said, Derek and I, we talked to Tracy and we talked to everybody. And these are things like understand that one about the form. And maybe there's something we can put out communication for the agents piece that's not a form, but that says something about that. Yeah. Okay. Right. No, I just know. I don't think there's a way you could say that, you know. Yeah, I can't consider that. So, unfortunately.
I think it should have this. I think if it's the fellows, it would help everyone. And that's my opinion. If one person can show it to all people, not just your office, because I know it's in bigger cities, not necessarily around us.
Well,
Our code of ethics requires us to be fair to one another, guys, so I think no one's in this. And then when it opens to all, because buyers are getting mad, they don't understand why they're not. Next thing you know.
And explain the purpose of it being able to be shown in brokerage, but not outside of brokerage. Like,
so a listing belongs to the broker. And so all of those listings are basically, and all the agents are working on behalf of that broker. So that is why the office is specific, because that listing ultimately belongs to the broker of that.
But they still want to. Yeah, that's what I'm. They still want to.
Going back to what Rachel said, I do think having a board is important just for the sake of us covering ourselves. Get a signature from the client. Get ourselves, check the brokers, so we can explain it, we can show the form and explain it and hope they understand, but unless they cannot, they doesn't have that signature. We're still looking to opening ourselves up for.
And then versus that.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
And then, because I always have to think back to our code of ethics as well, because how is that being fair to one another as realtors? Because that is in our code of ethics. I cannot say what the exact article is, but we are not supposed to take undue advantage of one another. And that's exactly what we're doing. When my buyer hears that Gary has a listing and his friends was able to see it, but I can't show it to him, well, they're gonna go to Gary so they can see it. How fair is that? Code of ethics should be our number one, guys. Yeah. Article 1.
If we say from there, that the house cannot be shown and cannot be sold without a violation of the contract, without a complaint.
But they're agreed to it.
I was gonna say, they have to fill out a form stating that that is their purpose to be able to have. You can't just put it in the town without the.
But I'm saying, what's it saying that we say it can't be shown or sold with the full status?
Well, it can be shown that everybody.
But that's not, but the comments were saying that it should be able to show.
Gotcha, I got it. Oh, I understand. And you're saying that as a producer, look at that, because one time taking a poll to be able to show and sell.
Say, what's happening with my house? Nothing.
So when you join Aaron's, you agree to the mayor's rule.
But that's not the mayor's rule. It was stated it. should
Yeah,
be.
he was getting together.
I was actually defending the mayor's rule.
Yes. I was like, I got more things. But yeah, so, and here's the thing. I understand all the comments, and we can talk about that a lot. All right. One of the things that we also want to do is Tracy and I, we're very close to get these communications out, to explain to you why those are there. If this isn't any other policy that's been around forever, or if it's something that's just put on books, okay? So that is our next goal, is to take all of these things, these questions that you guys have, and put them in communication form. So because this is something we're working on, I want you guys to be very aware of where communications go on our site. Everyone has been to mirrorsmls.com, right? There is a new site that has all of our blog articles and our previous newsletters. Does everybody get the newsletter? Comes out about once a month? Okay. So we're going to keep stuff there. Our blog, me and a bunch of people in the office are working on a status frequently asked questions. And of course, the Withheld is going to be a big part of that. So that's planning on coming out here in the next couple weeks. So I do want you to keep the questions coming. I want you to give us the hard sell, right? Because that's going to help us get to what you need and what you're finding and why it's things and what those things are. So I've absolutely heard everything you guys said, and I'm going to take that back to Tracy, and I will include that in it. Tracy goes to our compliance specialist. She has worked in professional standards for, I don't know, their years.
Oh, decades.
Has anybody heard of Tracy? Yes. Yes. All right. Very well spoken, presents all the evidence, researches like crazy. So she's working very hard on making sure this comes across the road. So again, reach out to me, reach out to Tracy. Ask us the questions, ask us the hard questions. And if I can't give you the 100% answer, I'll find Tracy, who will get us that, okay? So, yes.
Out of curiosity, what was Maris's motivation to establishing the health status?
It was because of the clear cooperation policy, and knowing that there was still that office exclusive out there. Yeah, it's not-
Well, years ago, I mean, I'm talking 30 years ago, Withheld was, like when the seller had paid you, you know, and no one would show it. I mean, it's just a simple function.
Similar to our coming soon now, where it's just like, it's coming, but it's not.
Exactly, it was just Withheld, you know, you didn't put it in the money, you just, yeah, it was just nice, it was sweet, it was simple.
Right.
And, you know, you wrote that in there, and I know,
Yeah.
back in the old days too, like if the seller said, you know, like no show until such and such a date, or certain instructions, we have to write them in and initial that. So it wouldn't be us saying, you know, this inspector can't come to the house, or this appraiser can't come to that. The seller would actually write that in, and then we would have to initial it. Yeah, because back then we had some appraisers that were cowboys, and they were well known, and they were like, oh no, he's not coming to my house. And that was like a whole subdivision of sellers. So I would say it was county, but anyway, there was a subdivision years ago that they all said, we hate X appraiser. And they wouldn't let them in the houses. And those sellers would write that down on the contract. So then you say, well, you got to initial it, you got to write it in your handwriting, because I'm not going to. And that kept us out of the state jail. Oh, I know. And that's, yeah, that's fine.
So here's how COL works, right? So the listing goes closed and sells the CDOM automatically resets regardless because it's closed, right? There's a new owner. If it goes a dawn expired or canceled, it should be on market a full 60 days from the date of that first before it resets to 0. So if you're not seeing that, please let us know because as far as we know, that is still continuing on everything that it has.
Coming soon, do not, coming soon status does not count days on market.
Correct. Withheld and coming soon do not tabulate days on market. So that would be the only.
Which is saying that houses that are all.
Yeah.
Sales.
Yes.
They're all those. Yes, it's only that one metric. And then days on market are 0, and it shows no market.
Okay. A lot.
Yeah.
See, we're a small community, so we work together every day and we can keep track of everything that's going on. So that's why we notice it maybe more than some of, in St. Louis County or something like that. So.
Right. And if there are ones. Okay, what should we do when we do that? I would send them directly to Tracy. So compliance at their.com. You don't want to hit the button because that's for notifying agents that they did something wrong. But if you send that listing number to Tracy, compliance@marismls.com, she will go in and dig through and make sure that that solicitor can be found or why it's not there. Okay.
Probably a public record type thing, but that's why I just let her know and then it'll get it corrected. So now we see that date history in the future.
Yes, if there's a deviation in the tax record ID number that's used, that changes where it links to. So that's how we link listings to the system. So if someone puts the wrong listing, it needs to be linked back to the old one. And the only way we know it's linked is if someone will tell us that it's not.
No, it's not. Right.
What? It's not real. I understand. The certificate, we promise. We will be the switches, okay? We will not ever say, they're sending this property and this is wrong and yours was right and you're a horrible person. We're never gonna say that. Yes, we will. We're gonna say, hey guys, this wasn't linking right, we updated this, it's now some kind of system. Yeah, that's really.
On that point, when you receive information from agents or screenshot it that says so-and-so has done something on compliance,
Yes.
make sure you crop out the agent's name before you send that to the individual that, because one of our agents within our company saw another agent in a different company had done something wrong, screenshot it, sent to Maris. Maris then reached out to said agent, and the agent's name was still on there to turn them in. And so then that agent on his Facebook page started dogging our agent and other agents joined in, which is from different firms, which is again completely a violation of the code of ethics.
And
But
I remember this happening, so know that this was definitely dealt with in the office, all right? It's not something we ever want to happen. No, that is our goal is to never, ever, ever, ever tell another agent that you helped us keep our data accurate.
Can I ask another question? It's like, open up a whole food, but I have, one thing I do not understand, and I'd like to understand the why behind it, is the requirement for the financing on the type of financing that they're getting. So when we're talking about fair housing and, like, that is wrong with the hotels, we have a military division all the time. The agents are, I'm not showing it because it's a VA loan. It'll never, it'll never pass. Like, that is a complete violation of fair housing. Right. So one, I guess, why is it a requirement? And then what is NAR doing, to assist protection around our funds? They are highly discriminated based off of type of financing.
Okay, so are you seeing that
There's a lot.
I'm sorry. So in the MLS, they're required to enter up to 16, I think, types of financing could go. So you're saying that there's specific.
On the contract itself.
Oh, so we can't
Oh,
do
yes,
contract.
That's something else.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's something else. But I was worried for a second, like, 'cause we do have them put that in the MLS when it comes to the suite, so that's different. But we usually offer them 16 options that they can choose from. And we just want to.
Just so you know, like on our input, when we go in as listing agents, within Maris, when we're plugging it in, pre-syndication, there's like a field that marks financing, and the agent typically marks what they think the house will qualify for. But in addition to that, there's the contract, which would be St. Louis Association, of Realtors, or Missouri Realtors, depending on which county you're working in or area, and those fields are on there. You check them, and I'm wondering if you're asking if we should get rid of that as a separate check, like we just need to mark it as special financing.
Financing contingency, right, like I specified for the VA, FHA, you know, I.
Even if it might be changed, there's no amendment that needs to be done.
Well, there's separate riders within both contracts that we use. There's riders for the VA home to outline those specific steps.
Janet, if you have a suggestion for the sale contract forms committee for St. Louis, you can fill out a suggestion form, have your broker sign it and send that in.
So the lender, I don't know, should I get a suggestion, I work on the why behind it.
Anyone can make a suggestion too, yeah. And they meet every month, and seriously consider all those submissions are looked at.
Well, I think it's because there's certain requirements, you know, so that they can try. We have to find it, there's certain things that we fall under, and, you know, that they change this, that either requirement. Not yes. Right? It's one. But it's, but it happened about it, it does, I will have to do that, because it finds the sellers. You know, USDA or RFA, or if it's a condition on cash.
But definitely have to let us know if the MLS, if it's on the MLS, now we can handle it, we'll contact you now.
Okay.
So, yes.
Okay, this is a different subject, but just because we're here clarifying, you know, different things in our MLS rules and stuff, it's like, just to clarify, on the coming soon, once you put that sign in the yard that says coming soon, how many hours is it that has to be in MLS? One business day, it's got to be in MLS, right?
Yeah, any public advertising, so.
And
Put it on
an ad in the Facebook,
Right.
or whatever,
Yeah, public advertising, that triggers CC.
Right, that's what I. Yeah, okay.
Yes. Okay.
I guess an example. I had an instance where another company had sued that it was coming back.
We expected that.
So I went on showing time to make an appointment. First appointment available was like 9 in the morning. That day, made the appointment, got a call from the agent before that saying it's under contract.
That does happen with, sight unseen contracts. That does happen. We've seen that a lot.
But how does it happen if you can't advertise properly that person keeps those available?
Well, it's an MLS, it's coming soon, doesn't it? So coming soon goes to every auto email, coming soon goes to your broker sites. All right, so here's a question for you guys. I know this has opened up a whole lot of stuff. Based on this, we're gonna talk about. Absolutely, and I love that. I only have a couple more minutes, so I don't want to make your thing go long. I can absolutely see your thought thing. The thing I want to know from you guys is what part of this do you want to see in communications? What part of this can we put out there? Where can we put it? Blog, newsletter? What things do you need from us? Does that make sense to everybody?
Say that again.
So if there's specific topics, what do you want to see topics showing in your blogs and your newsletters? What's the information you guys want from us when we try to communicate? Anybody have any questions? Besides status or with status?
We do think you see because there's so many good sites, like there's all that, it's on track. Most of the people are. But we do appreciate that command.
And like I said, you guys, we don't mind hearing this feedback. I know sometimes like, I don't want to be that person who says whatever, but we need that feedback. And that's, we are a realtor community. And we want to see that way. We want to do the best to cooperate with each other. So if there is something we can put out there and help us, you know, we have that status frequently asked questions coming out. We've got admin and listing broker packets about how to do listings. But if there are other topics that we can get out there, please let me know. Yes.
You know, one thing, and I may have mentioned this before, the mayor's individual, maybe just talk amongst yourselves, but you know, there's one thing I wish mayors would probably do. So when you're inputting a listing.
Yep.
You're getting to the section, and I mean, especially with newer agents, it's a little challenging, or if you have a brain fart, you can't quite remember, you have that information button.
The question mark.
But it never gives a whole lot of information. It just says required, if it's required, if it's not, instead of saying, this is what you're looking for, this is what you're not. You know, those look at, if you've done it a while, you know what those fields are. If you're newer agents or you're not practicing as much, it's really not very helpful to have the question mark there if there's no information there. Explain the field a little bit.
Absolutely, I get that. So does everybody know those question marks exist? So based on that, absolutely, I'll take that back. That's something we can work on, right? There is, we go back and look at those question marks and make them more helpful. So those type of things, absolutely. We can do those. Is there anything else? There's a big topic that you would like to see Maris address? Or status update?
Is there a way, like, on the selection, sometimes you don't have the right selection of what you need to mark for your listings?
Okay.
Sometimes like the style of the house, or like the features in the house. Is there a way that you can have this other button and you can type in something?
The typing part I'm not sure about, but the other is possible. We always have to send those back to Brad in our office and outdated, and sometimes the board, depending on what it is. But there are ways that we can always look at. So if there are things specifically that all the time you guys see this just doesn't work as a field, let us know.
Like a shouse. What do you mark for a shouse?
We, I'm gonna say, you know that did go around a bunch, the word shout. So there's a whole new special, I don't even remember what it's called, like additional something or other, but shouts was almost in there. So, and I should probably talk about the faster, we know about the asterisk and searching marketing remarks, right? So that's where we normally tell people with the shouts is to asterisk, shouts, asterisk, right? Because if another agent has entered that in, then this is what that is, they'll do that. So if you ever run into an instance where you're like, this just isn't a part of it, say, hey, in the marketing remarks, this is also commonly known as, and then as we're telling agents how to search those marketing remarks, it's that much better for the buyer's agent to locate it. And then while we're working on inputting that.
But alternative, because we're gonna see all kinds of work, financing, medical listings, and a shipping container. That's the new one, shipping container. What do we wanna call that? A shower? I know. But, I mean, those are coming.
Yeah, I think like the alternative, I think that's a really good word for, it just doesn't fit this category, but it has its own category, right? You know, as we start to build it. So alternative, other, that's our I'll check with Brad. We can't ever guarantee anything on those pieces, but I can always take them back. Does everybody know there's a suggestion button at the bottom of the MarisMLS page? So if you're on MarisMLS.com and you're on any of the web pages, you can scroll all the way down to the bottom, there is a suggestions. And you can click on that and add a suggestion. That goes to our support team, it goes to our directors, our C-suite, whatever you want to call them, and they all take a look at that. and answer.
That's cool. I've never noticed that one.
Yeah, suggestions. It doesn't get used a lot, that's why I'm like, so you guys know it's there. Give us what you got, right? And there's also surveys, there's a survey on the Matrix homepage. There's one on all of our email signatures. Let us know. I am looking to tabulating all that data now. So I get to see all your questions and talk through those. And it's great to have the conversations here mixed with that data to actually pull what's the best. way to move forward with that, right? So absolutely. I'm trying to think. I think that was it. My last thing, does everybody know about my favorite searches? Did I talk about that last time I was here? Do you know you can put your production numbers on the home screen of Matrix and let them go throughout the year? So if you go into a cross-property search detail, there's an option to add your MLS ID as the agent, list agent, or buyer's agent. And you save that search, check marking the favorite search option, and that stays on your home screen of Matrix. So throughout the year, it just pulls all of your listings or your selling side into that search for you. So at the end of the year, you don't have to see where your numbers are. You already know where they are because they've been building on your home screen. So that is, if anybody needs that, I'll send it to Amanda too, so she can send it out, just kind of the steps for that, so you guys can see it. Otherwise, I know I'm like that, my time. All right, if anybody has any other questions. All right, well, then that is all I have, so thank you guys very much. Here.
It's very helpful, very helpful.
Uh-oh. My computer. Yeah. Okay, two housekeeping things that came up while we were talking. The golf tournament is August 26th, not the 11th. I messed that up, sorry.
I already checked.
Too bad. The golf flyer is correct, the events flyer is wrong. And then when it comes to forms, I think somebody mentioned it, especially the St. Louis forms. Our very own Rachel McZuke is on the forms committee for St. Louis. If you have questions about that, but also I did put a link on our website. If you go to the member center, St. Louis logo is on there. If you click on that, it takes you right to their website where you can fill out any information or suggestions on forms. So it's very important to put it in writing, not just tell Rachel. The chairman of that committee wants it in writing submitted through the website. So if you have any suggestions at all, tell your friends. It is easily on there. Okay. All right. So next we have our very own Janet Judd. So Janet is the 2021 Missouri Realtor president and is currently serving as immediate past president. She is the 2016 Missouri Realtor Salesperson of the Year and 2015 president of St. Louis Realtors. She's an expert on realtor safety, having served as the 2022 chairman of NAR Safety Committee. And she was the first female police officer on a 55-man department.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, let's talk about realtor safety first. This is my new favorite toy. So it's a flashlight. So it's nice and bright. But if you're, with people you don't know very well, you feel comfortable with, it looks like a flashlight. If you're going in the basement with people, you can carry something like this. And, I could ask for a volunteer, but I could practice with. You can get someone to keep a distance with, bump on them and all that, but it looks very innocent. So, bought it on Amazon and the brand is Living Sure. So it's just one of those things that just looks nice and handy and you can use it. They also, I don't have it on my keychain right now, but a Kubaton. You guys know what those are? Good. Yep. And they're about this long, they can be nubby, they can be fluffy, they can be very sharp, but they're just meant to be like on your keychain. They can hang on your hands, they can fit in your purse, you get it out with your keys, and if someone came up behind you, that's gonna hurt you. If you just, anywhere you can reach someone, they're gonna let go so that you can get away. So that's what that's about. So the Kubaton and my baton flashlight, okay? So there's two little things. Yes, I'm chair of the NAR Safety Committee this year. I'm really proud of that committee. They're doing a lot of hard work for trying to get like a trauma response team put together because of all these shootings. You'd be surprised how many realtors are involved in violent acts. And that means the violent acts are on them. There are more realtors injured and killed than in the line of duty with the New York City Police Department. Let that sink in. We are considered a dangerous profession, a high-risk occupation by the Department of Justice. So that's why you need to be more aware of your surroundings, the people you're with. There are predators out there, and these predators shop for us on Facebook, on Instagram, and everything. They have a type. You know, they think property managers are always carrying a lot of cash. That's why 1 in 3 victims are men. You know, they get the head beat out of them. You know, they get killed. So that's why you've got to realize and understand you're in a high-risk profession and do everything you can to protect yourself. Because the traumas that we're hearing coming from NAR, it's so sad that people can't even talk about it. And when they do, they break down and cry. So we've done a video. If you go to the NAR website, click on safety, I've done a webinar on it. And when that webinar went live that particular day, we had over 3,000 people on that webinar. So that shows you how people are concerned about safety. You should be too, and I hope you go take a look at that webinar, present it in your offices or whatever. So this is talking about what you got on your tables. Really proud of this brochure. We developed it a couple of years ago with Missouri Realtors. And when we go and talk to the politicians, when we go to talk to anyone in the government, when we talk with anyone of importance that could be help us with real estate, this brochure is a keeper for them. It's meant for them to keep it in their desk. And if you look at the little cloud, this is talking about what the objectives are for the Missouri Real Estate Commission when we talk to them and what we're trying to achieve. So the most recent one that got approved was the restrictive covenants. And we call that Sherry Asher's law. Because she's the one, she's a regular member, she attends the Missouri Real Estate meetings. And she just suggested, why do we have in our restrictive covenants, you know, violations of fair housing, saying African Americans can't live in this community? And I'm sure you guys have all seen that before. But there was no way of taking that out of the covenants. Well, now it's been passed by both the House of Representatives and the Senate, and we're just waiting for the governor's signature. So that's a big win for us. So that's going to make some big changes. We've always had a strong stance against eviction moratoriums, the low-income housing tax credits. You know, we're getting a lot of kickback on that, making some changes to that in the future, but we're there for it. And Mona, we were one of the first large organizations, and we are the largest organization state, about 25,000 members. So we are the largest lot of legislative power that we use when we have to. So Mona is something when it's equal, and that they should have a right to home and safety and all of that. So that's what this is about. So get this tag, take it home, share it with your offices. We really like that. Amen. Just kind of wanted to share a couple of things with you. We've got a new CEO at Missouri Realtors. Her name is Brianna Van Strom, and she just started May 16th. Our former CEO, John Seabury. How many of you have met John Seabury? So he was with us for just under 7 years, and he took a job in California. So now he's in California working there on the state side. So we had a nationwide search. We hired a recruiter. Excuse me. We hired recruiters. They went through an extensive nationwide search for us, and we've got Brianna. She was everyone unanimous. That was it. She was a unanimous choice for the committee, and I'm going to read her credentials. She has more than 20 years of experience, but she looks like a teenager. She's so young looking that it's anyway. 20 years of experience in marketing, association management, and real estate. She has been a realtor. She's worked in communications for realtor associations in West Palm Beach, Florida, and St. Paul, Minnesota. She served as the chief executive officer for Boise Regional. She has a bachelor's degree in journalism and a master's degree from the University of St. Thomas in Minnesota. That just makes me laugh. St. Thomas, Minnesota. I think of the island, you know, like a resort, and you're going to Minnesota. And she is also historically our first CEO, female CEO. So we're really happy about that. So she's made history coming to Missouri Realtors. June is National Home Ownership Month. So that's a great way to send out an email to your clients, a way to touch base, send them a note, etc. And it's also LGBTQ and Pride Month. So we've got all kinds of information available on that in case you're interested. We also had almost 1,000 members attend the last 2 meetings that we had in January and in April. And I have to share with you my experience with Missouri Realtors started maybe 10, 11 years ago when I was in Leadership Academy. I had been to some meetings, but I just really hadn't connected with people. And I've been in leadership in St. Louis, and you know, they asked me to apply to the Leadership Academy, and I did. And it changed my life. I made friends at Leadership Academy that they're like sisters to me, they're like brothers to me. And it made me a better person. I learned skills about myself that I didn't know. I know it made me a better leader. And I wouldn't be where I'm at in life if it hadn't been for Missouri Realtors and Leadership Academy. And we were just involved in each other's lives, and it gives you a voice that, you know, Penny, you've got great suggestions. You go to Missouri Realtors. We have output forums, output forum groups that you can voice what you need to voice. We have things on hybrid. I mean, you can get on this and be a part and make a difference. So I want you to, right, Steve, you go to these meetings. So
I just go for free food.
thanks a lot.
No, the state meetings are awesome, you know, if you haven't done it, you know, we see affiliates there, we see agents there. I wish more agents would go. The community, the output forums are a great way to express some of those concerns, get questions answered, you know, and even if it's just going to Capital Conference, that's how I got started with it all, was going to Capital Conference, and then started doing a few meetings. And now I have friends across the state, and it's really good, important time. Derek's been up there, he's our treasurer now on the state, and James always there. So
And they have
it's a great time.
And they have scholarships. So, yep, so if you've never been, you can apply for a scholarship and they'll assign you a mentor so that you're not left, you know, just hanging and floating, kind of like we were when we first used to go. So you can have a mentor and they'll introduce you to people. And I'm really happy when I see people that when they came for their first time, we talked to them and they're back now and they're involved in the system. So try it.
It pays for the room too.
Yes, it pays for the room and everything. So let's see, we've got the President Mayfield, John Mayfield, you know, he's an instructor, a well-known instructor nationally. And in Missouri, that he's created 2 advisory PAGs. They're called Presidential Advisory Groups. So we call them PAGs for short. And he's done an election PAG. And that's so that we can review our current officer and NAR election requirements, guidelines, et cetera. And it's because we want to make it a competitive yet everything an equal playing field when people are competing for offices. So we got that PAG, and then the other one is on standard forms. And they're examining all of the forms that Missouri Realtors use and their suppliers and their integration services. So like being at these output group meetings, when they talk about that kind of stuff, you can say, DocuSign sucks, or I don't like forms or us, or this or that. They want your input. You know, so if you know somebody that's on the PAG, or if you don't, you can tell leadership, and that will get relayed to them. We've got the another foundation called MREF, and that's the Missouri Real Estate Education Foundation. Got it. And that's something Jared, you're on.
Missouri Realtors Education Foundation.
Why don't you go ahead and explain?
Okay, so, as a group, this is one of my favorite topics. You guys have probably heard me speak to it, so I'll keep it brief. It was formerly known as the Center, and the whole idea is to create products that teach consumers the importance of the realtor and the importance of owning real estate. We have courses that'll be called It's Your Roof, that we're hopefully going to be implemented here in the fall. I got a chance to teach that course at a Washington High School class with LAC. So if you're interested in being a part of that, please reach out, let me know. But the whole idea is to make sure consumers know that we're important in the transaction, and that means we connect with our lenders and title companies and make sure that's all mapped out well. So thank you.
The Relief Foundation.
Oh, I didn't talk about that too. Realtor Relief Foundation is an NAR program that was founded right after 9/11, and we mean within a day of 9/11 taking place. The realtors were at interaction, creating a foundation and making sure that we were supporting the people who were impacted by 9/11. Since then, in just this year, we've contributed over $3 million to different states who were impacted by natural disasters. We're talking fires, we're talking floods, we're talking hurricanes, tornadoes. Anytime you see that in national news, know that NAR is providing funds directly to those places, and it's not to the realtors. It's to the the consumer, the homeowners who are impacted. They receive a certain amount of money to help make sure that they get to hotels and get the things that they need right in those dire situations. And so anytime that happens in Missouri, know that NAR is here to support us. And we are looking this year to continue contributions. Last year, there was a large push for fundraising for Realtor Relief Foundation. We raised over $8 million. We've already sent $3 to $4 million out this year. So we're basically just trying to keep that ground to make sure that we can keep contributing when natural disasters take place. So I'll be asking Franklin County Board of Realtors as a board of directors to contribute this year. We did not last year, and I certainly hope all the board will contribute. We know that floods impact our area pretty regularly. We want to make sure some of those funds come back to us. Yeah, I need everyone's help because I'm the state captain for the cause. So you can contribute individually, you can contribute as a board, as a brokerage, as a lender, as a title company, whatever you might be. You're welcome to contribute, and it is tax deductible contribution.
And it also helps realtors. I mean, when we had the flooding in Jeff City, we were helping realtors whose offices had flooded. You know, they had machinery that was damaged, their offices were damaged. We were able to give them $1,000 to help pay the on the insurance copay. Yeah, got it.
Deductible.
Yeah, deductible. All right, so close. Help pay the deductible on their insurance, and they appreciated that because that helped them. So this is something that, you know, I like to donate to because I can see where it's going. You know, I might round up at Deerberg's because it's for a good cause here too, but I like to donate directly and see where my money is going and making choices. So I admit, I may not always donate at TJ Maxx, you know, where they ask me for a donation, but I'll donate at Deerberg's and this fund and several others. So hopefully you can open your hearts and do that. I want to make sure that you know about tech hotline. How many of you know about the tech hotline? That was something that was put into effect my year. That's what I'm really big about that. If you've got problems with your computer, your iPad, your cell phone, your copy machine, anything like that, you can call the tech hotline. And they're like our geek squad. That's what they're there for. They're there to help us. So when you've got problems with that, call the tech hotline, like Ghostbusters, tech hotline, they're for us. And I've tested them, they're Janet proof. So they have, like, they're like 10 for 10 with me, so you guys can call them. The legal hotline, that's also for the realtor benefit. So if you've got a question that legally you're going, can I get in trouble for this? Ask your broker. If they're not around, call the legal hotline. They also have, and if you're really tired or can't get to sleep, go on there on the website, and they'll have all these questions and answers and FAQs and all of that stuff, and you'll go, ooh, and then you just keep going. It's mesmerizing. And I just, what else is mesmerizing is I just got appointed, I'm the newest commissioner for the Missouri Real Estate Commission. So what's mesmerizing is I got a paper this high in the mail a couple of weeks ago that I had to read every single page, make my notes on, and I went to my first real estate commission meeting last Thursday, 8 hours long. It was amazing how dedicated all these professionals are to making sure the public is protected and how they want our professionalism in our industry alive. So I'm so proud to be a commissioner. You know, I'm the new one in the group. I tried to keep my mouth shut, but it just kind of came out. Doesn't work, you know, so they did ask me for my input on some things. Yeah, but the Missouri Real Estate Commission, you know, some rules are changing, coming down the pipeline. We'll make sure that you know about them. But they are truly dedicated to protecting you guys and the public. And well, I also want to share my leadership story with you guys if you want to stay away from this. Okay, so you know, I started real estate when I was 26 years old. I was a police officer in Clayton. They had never hired a female before. It was a 55-man police department. And I was coming out of the St. Louis Police Academy. Baldwin's the one who put me through the academy. And the chief of Clayton, I guess, heard about me. He invited me in for an interview, and Clayton paid more, and they never had a female. So when they offered me that job, I went, yep. And so they paid Baldwin. So I kind of bought from Baldwin, and so that's how I got to work in Clayton. I was the first female at the St. Louis Police Academy elected as a class president. So that's what I'm more proud of, is that I made my mark in the police academy and with some of those sergeants. When I was going through the, I'm in the Citizens Academy right now with the FBI. So over the weekend, we had training at the law enforcement range in St. Charles. And it was so much fun, the weapons that we got to fire, and we got to do simulations, like they, you know, on a big wall, and you had a laser gun and, you know, bad guys and all this good stuff. And it was just, well, for me, it was fun. For other people, there were people that had never held a gun before. You know, I mean, it was all kinds of chaos. You know, some one guy in went in and just murdered everybody. He just went. Oh, Charlie, back up. No. So, but when we got to go out on the range, they had Block 9s, they had the submarine, some machine gun that only the FBI can use. So they no longer make it, so we have to fire that. He had a carbine rifle, he had a Tommy gun. Yeah, that was so sweet. That was like, and we had the shotgun. It was like a really advanced shotgun, and I hate shotguns, but this one was a nice one, but I still don't like shotguns. So it was like all day on the range with that, so I just loved that part of law enforcement, and that's where I ended up meeting my husband. So in police work, you always do part-time work to make extra money. So I would work, on the church lots. I remember working on the Galleria construction site, sleeping there, watching their construction stuff. So for the Galleria, the Ritz-Carlton, same thing. I remember working there. I got to do some bodyguard work. A shop from the Middle East came in with all his wives, and they wanted to go shopping at Frontenac, so I got to go shopping with them. And I had to wear their gear too. I had to wear all that because it wasn't real obvious. So I had a great, just under 5-year career. Met my husband, and it was like, he had a house to sell in Jefferson County. And when we sold that, he said, Jane, you seem to really catch on to that. Why don't you go and get your license? And I did, and it just kind of snowballed. And so I did it part-time for 2 or 3 years. And then God is good. I ended up having to have retina surgery. And I had a detached retina. They had to do on both eyes. If somebody had punched me, I probably could have gone blind or if I'd fallen or something like that. So God is good. It was just starting to take over. And I used to be a sharpshooter back then. Not a sniper. Some people think sniper, but it was a sharpshooter. And when that retina blew, I went from like shooting like a 98 to like a 72. I mean, it was just so hard for me. I said, I would have been the cop that had to tailgate everybody. It would have been like, have your brights on all the time. So the corker of it all was what made me decide to leave was when I had my son. And I was on patrol and District 2, which is like by Clayton and Hanley and Whiteout and all of that. And it was the middle of the night, little snowstorm, little old lady barefoot and flip-flops, so she didn't have sock shoes on, and she's in her jammies, and she's just walking down Whiteout. And I'm like, ma'am, we would kind of recognize her. She was a frequent flyer, and I wanted to put her in my car, and I touched the back of her head, and she turned around so fast, punched me in the eye, and I swear that little bony hand went through my head, like a cartoon, like it just went through my face. And she didn't break she didn't break anything in my eye or anything, but I was pretty bruised up. And when my son saw me, he started crying. And so then after that, he had a hard time when mommy would go to work at midnight. And so that's when I said, I gotta make this real estate gig come true. And like I said, God is good, it did. 36 years later, I'm at a point in my life I never thought I would be. I love being past president. We had 3 leadership meetings, lots of LT calls, and I didn't have to say a word. It's running the way it should be running. So it's a seamless machine. I'm proud that I got to serve you all. This was my baby for 5 years, and I'm just happy I'm here, and I'm still here to serve, but just in the background. So if you've got any questions for me, now's your time, because I've got like 2 minutes left. Does it inspire any of you to kind of step up leadership? Come on. Come on. Because you know what? It's the busy people that can make time. You do have the time to do this. And it's not as time consuming as you think. State leadership is, but serving on a committee, you're going to learn. And your clients love the fact that you're serving on committees. They love the fact that you're working and gaining more knowledge. So when I told a client yesterday, she called me and my son was over for dinner, and I said, nope, I'm not talking to her. I called her and said, I'll call you tomorrow morning between 8 and 9. I was over here. And then I told her, I said, my son's over for dinner. I've got a meeting in Washington, Missouri, and I'll call you when I'm there. When I talked to her, I said, yeah, I've got a presentation to do for the second county. And she was like, oh, that's cool. What are you going to talk about? I was like, I don't know. Ella just filled up all my time. So. Guess that's it. No questions for me, no comments? All right, I'm good. You're welcome.
Okay, we have one more presenter today. Let's get our guys from Cornerstone Financial up here. Scott. So they have recently become affiliates of ours. Sean is one of our newest. He became a financial advisor in January of 2020 with Cornerstone Financial Consultants. He is a welcome addition, and we look forward to. He did put some stuff on, I think, everyone's table, so you should all have some handouts, and I'm gonna get a PowerPoint going here in just a second, if you give me. So Sean, take it over.
Yeah, and this is also Ron here too. Ron is from Washington.
I'm the old and he's the new. I'm the old has-been. So
That's right.
thank you for allowing us. That's a tough act to follow, what we just heard there. And we'll keep our statements pretty brief, try to keep them meaningful to you. And we'll just get started here.
Hold on.
We're getting close. Here we go.
Sorry.
Here we go.
Did everybody get a packet? That is everybody get a packet?
You should have one on your table there, and that where it says our story. If you ever wondered where the movie title came from, the good, the bad, the ugly, I would suspect that that's probably on our group picture there. A lot of us males there, and one female, Ann Richardson. That's poor Sean there on the end, and then the sharp one there is me, and then Ann, and then our new owner, Aaron Whiteman, and my business partner, Larry Fluffy. We came from Steamboat Financial. Larry and I started our own firm, went on our own about 15 years ago. And just in the last 3 years, sold the practice to Aaron Whiteman. At that point, we hired a young man who stands here to my right, Sean Ulrich. Sean is originally from St. Louis County. And that's our team right there as it exists. And you'll notice that I'm not part of that. And there's a good reason for that, because they didn't need me. That's not bad. But here I stand anyway. And I just want to give you a little bit of an update. What we're talking about here is something that our business and the real estate business is very parallel to the extent that it all begins with the listing or the sale of your business, and with us, it begins with the sale as well. And we have some parallels, and to that extent, we also incorporate real estate into our typical business portfolio when we design a portfolio for people. We believe that real estate definitely has a place it should be there. And, real estate has never let us down, with the exception of maybe 2008, 2009. And I know that you all know about that, but it's been a good growth vehicle for many, many years. And that's about all I'm going to say. And let this young man, you've got your video there, let him launch it. And
Tell me when to scroll.
No, you're good.
Okay.
You just get on to the next one.
take it away, Sean.
So Ron came into our office about a year ago with just the idea of presenting to real estate agents. Obviously, the real estate market was incredibly hot, and now we're in a very low inventory environment. So we feel like this is a great time to be able to consider. If you haven't actually had somebody put together a full-fledged financial plan for you, it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice to have. So I'll roll through. We have 5 different points for you guys today. I know it's late. Thank you guys for sticking around with it. And I'll tell you what we feel like are 5 incredible steps for real estate agents to take this year to put yourselves into a great situation. So with most of the real estate agents, clients that we have, and I handle about, I would say 90% of the long-term financial planning in our office, the number one thing that comes up is just inconsistent income. And there may be individuals here that already do that. What we feel like is a great way to go about it, if y'all just have a regular checking and a regular savings account, we would recommend that you guys also add on a business checking, a business savings, and then also a tax account too, because obviously you guys are going to have to pay those taxes at the end of the year. And if you want, you can set it up so that every 2 weeks or every month, say you sell a home and you make $9,000 commission off of that home. And as opposed to just having that all go into your checking and then spend it down and be an individual that isn't necessarily paying themselves out of salary, what we think would be wisest to do is decide maybe every other week, y'all do $2,500, or you decide to do $3,000 a month. So that way it's going from your business checking into your personal checking, and in a way, you're creating that salary for yourselves. That way, it's a little bit more consistent, especially in a year like this, where I know that there's sometimes real estate agents, and they go a month or two without a sale of a home, and it's tricky. It's a tougher time to go about it. So just kind of a quick little hack. Yeah, it's not anything crazy, but setting aside the taxes, paying yourself out that salary, if it brings y'all even a little bit more of a peace of mind, I think that's a good place for us to start. One second. So this is, I came across, there's a lawyer and a CPA that was like maybe a year and a half ago that gave me this idea, and then it kind of all came together when Ron came into our office too. I don't know if y'all have ever looked at the different retirement account options that you have as real estate agents, but say you're an individual that's just getting started off, definitely look at the traditional IRA or the Roth IRA. But there's a pretty cool hack that comes in with the solo 401k, which is kind of the main retirement account that I wanted to talk to you guys about today. And when you combine the solo 401k with filing as an S corp, how many of you guys have heard about doing that type of retirement account before, combining the S corp with the solo 401k? So just one at this point, it's a way that y'all can contribute 4 or 5 times more than you would be able to in a regular Roth IRA, with also reducing the amount of taxes that you pay on it. So if you guys aren't even aware that it's a possibility, at least you're here today to find it out. So 2 different ways that you can file. We consider you guys business owners as real estate agents. If you do decide to file as an S corp, you get to decide how much of your income you want to pay out to yourself as a salary and how much of you actually want to pay out as a distribution. On the distribution side, you save about half as much in self-employment taxes. And for those individuals that make close to that 6 figures, that can be close to $8,000 to $10,000 worth of savings every year that you're getting because you're establishing this. Now, there is costs and expenses of setting up as an S corp, usually around $2,000 a year. So if you don't have income that reaches that close to 6-figure mark, it may not make as much sense to do the S corp this particular year. The most common retirement account for self-employed individuals before the solo 401k is a SEP IRA, but you're pretty limited as the employer. I would say with all my research, looking at the SEP IRA compared to the solo 401k, the only advantage that I can think of is you can have employees underneath you. However, if you have an employee underneath you in a SEP IRA, whatever amount you allocate to your retirement, you have to allocate to their retirement. So if you choose 20%, it can get pretty expensive pretty quick. And there's one other hack, but we won't get into it. But the solo 401k is by far, probably the past 15 to 20 years or so, has become the gold standard. If I'm a real estate agent that had a successful 2021 or even 2020, if you guys have a bunch of cash just sitting there looking for new investment properties or looking for a new retirement account, the solo 401k contribution limits not only allow you to contribute just like you would to a regular 401k, so you have that max contribution limit of $20,500 for 2022, but you can also do it on the Roth side. So most retirement accounts, most individuals that make over a certain amount of income, you can't even contribute to a Roth IRA. If you establish a solo 401k, you don't have any income limitations. So you can contribute nearly 3 times as much, get that tax-free growth, and you also have the same opportunity to do the profit sharing like you would in a SEP IRA. And if you're a sole proprietor, if you don't do the S corp, you can do 20% of your business profits. If you do decide to file as the S corp, you can do 25% of your profits, up into $61,000. You can put away into a retirement account, which just diversifies your assets from probably mostly real estate assets of people in this room to having a little bit more invested in the market. I know it's a lot of information. I could have had it all written out, but it's about 3 times as much as what you could normally contribute, on the raw side, and you can pass through business profits. So if you're not somebody that's looked at a retirement account before, and you've had a good year, I would love to talk to you. Would love to help you out there. Other two accounts we can help you all set up: individual investment account and health savings. We won't focus on those today. You get number 2. So this is what usually brings most individuals a good amount of peace of mind when it comes to retirement. So through a service called Right Capital, we'll aggregate all of your financial information, bank, savings, investments, real estate assets, all into one. And what it does is it produces a probability of success. So once we get all the financial information plugged in, the probability of success percentage is the percentage of time that you don't run out of money by the end of the plan. So depending upon whatever you guys said at the end of the plan, if it's till age 90, this is a percentage of time that you don't run out of money by the end of that. And then obviously with the assets there too, you can see what your net worth would look like by the time that plan was over. So it can, if you have an individual that has both real estate properties and is invested well in the market, the probability of success is far and beyond those that just choose one or the other. You can find a way to do a combination of both. It looks much, much better down the road. So just running down quickly, I won't go into each one. Monte Carlo simulations, if you do have money invested in the market, a Monte Carlo simulation just simulates your assets 1,000 times over. It's best case scenario in the market, worst case scenario, average scenario. So for somebody like me, you know, if you're worried about, you know, how do we protect the client's downside, it incorporates that. We can do those crash tests and see what it looks like if the market were to drop off the table. Social Security guidance, if you guys are wondering, you know, when should I take Social Security? 62, 67, age 70. It tells you straight up exactly the recommendation that it has. How does all that affect my Medicare premiums when I turn age 65? We want to make sure we plan around that. If you are somebody that's invested mostly on the tax deferred side and you want to try to bring that over to the tax free side, we could look at how much does it make sense to convert each year from that traditional or your regular 401k, roll it to a traditional IRA, and then look at the Roth side as well. So tax planning, you can figure out each year what makes the most sense. How can we reduce the taxes and how can we get the most on the tax-free side as possible? If there are insurance policies that need to be had, we can look at those. We compare the ones that you guys already have. And then what I feel like is the best for you guys, if you're considering real estate properties or if you already have some, we can plug them right into the plan. And it includes the probability of success there. Also, if you're just considering an investment property, if you already have all your investment information, we can see how it affects the plan. So you can give me a call. You can say, hey, we're looking at this property. Here's the interest rate. Here's how much we want to put down on it. How does it affect our plan? Within probably an hour, I can give you a call back and say it's a great idea or it's a terrible idea. It's a little bit more of a peace of mind to be able to say, you know, we have all the information plugged into one system. Last one is going to be mortgage analysis, and it's just nice to know what your net worth is, assets compared to liabilities, all aggregated into one place. So that's what I got. That's what I got for that one. Quick, just pros and cons of going into the market. So obviously it's a little bit easier to get into the stock market right now with where real estate prices are at this point. But Ron and I just did a podcast on that last page. You guys will see a QR code that links to it. We just did a podcast on what it looks like to do short-term rental properties versus long-term rental properties. And I feel like one of the coolest aspects of having real estate properties is you get cash flow, and it's a place that you can go hang out at. You can take your family there, you can get income from it, you can have a lot of fun with it. Yes, you can still have as much fun too in the market, but it's not necessarily the same luxuries that come along with owning actual physical real estate too. So some of the cons back and forth, you know, I feel like the market historically has been way more volatile than the real estate market, but real estate market's been pretty volatile too. I mean, we've seen it really shoot up through the roof. If you're somebody like me, you've got a bunch of money saved up, hopefully to get into a little bit more investment properties in the near future because those opportunities will present themselves. So there's different ways you can set up your financial situation to try to be ready for that. So you go to the next one. Last one is just going to be executing the long-term plan. So if we get everybody's information plugged into the system, you get your probability of success, you're figuring out what's the retirement plan that makes the most sense for me, and you're feeling like, okay, I'm the expert when it comes to real estate. I'm just the person that you call to say, does it make sense with the plan you've already put together? You're the one that's finding the deals, putting it all together. Yes, we're a resource for you. We have 3 other advisors in our office. But more than anything, it just gives you peace of mind. You know, I don't know how many, my parents were the kind that kind of flew by the seat of their pants and never really had a plan together like this until 5 years ago when I started doing this job. So it's one of those things, but the more people that I work with, having that real estate income and having that money invested in the market can be an incredible blessing to have in your life too. So get on that last page. That's the conclusion there. So if you guys don't mind, we did have that contact sheet for y'all to fill out. If that's something, if anything that I said today was intriguing to you guys, we would love to see and connect. If you guys would be interested in hearing more. If you don't want me to call you, I'm happy to just send an email, or y'all can just check that box. I'm not interested in the meeting at this time. No big deal at all. But we have had probably done 2 or 3 presentations at this point. It's worked out about pretty well for the individuals been able to set up too. So that's as quick as I could have gone. I was trying to be cognizant of you guys this time. You guys have any questions? Anything that popped up through the presentation today? That was a lot of information at once. Good. All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you guys so much.